The Indiana Fever's playoff clinching win over the Washington Mystics wasn't just a game. It was a declaration. A declaration that this team, written off countless times, refused to crumble under the weight of injuries, doubt, and relentless adversity. They didn't just beat Washington. They dismantled them 94-65. And in the process, proved they are far more than the sum of their missing stars. What makes this victory resonate so deeply isn't just the scoreboard. It's the story that led up to it. The Fever weren't supposed to be here. When Caitlin Clark, the face of the franchise and the player carrying an entire league's marketing machine on her back, went down with a season-ending groin tear after just 13 games, analysts immediately closed the book on Indiana's postseason hopes. Add Sophie Cunningham, Khloe Bby, Sydney Colson, and Aari McDonald to the injured list, and the Fever's rotation was reduced to rubble. 5 contributors erased, half a team gone. Most franchises would fold, but Indiana didn't. They adapted. They turned survival into identity. That transformation was on full display against Washington. For a half, the game looked tight. The Mystics pressed hard, forced Indiana into difficult looks, and kept the margin close. But then came the third quarter, the moment when the Fever shifted from survivors to predators. They clamped down so ferociously that Washington managed just 9 points in the frame. 9. Every pass was contested. Every cut was disrupted. Every shot was smothered. The Mystics didn't just go cold. They were frozen by Indiana's defense. From that moment, the game ballooned into a blowout. Natasha Howard became unstoppable around the rim, punishing defenders with 17 points while setting the tone physically. Aliyah Boston, the quiet anchor of this roster, delivered yet another double-double with 12 points and 11 rebounds, breaking franchise records and reminding everyone why she's the backbone of this team. Aerial Powers exploded off the bench with 15 points and relentless energy, while Lexi Hull and She Petty brought hustle, shooting, and grit in equal measure. Even Kelsey Mitchell, on an off-shooting night, found ways to steady the backcourt with key plays and leadership. By the end, 5 players were in double figures, a reflection of just how balanced and dangerous this next woman-up squad has become. But the true defining moment of the night didn't happen on the court. It happened in the locker room, when Aliyah Boston, drenched in sweat and still riding the high of victory, spoke to reporters about the mantra that carried the Fever through the storm. "Never doubt yourself and what you're capable of," she said. It wasn't just a line. It was the heartbeat of their season. Boston, often described as poised and polished, showed a different side, the anchor who reminded her team that even in chaos, belief is the most powerful weapon. Her words weren't spicy, as one reporter suggested earlier this year. They were steady, firm, unshakable. And that's exactly what this Fever team has been. The irony of this season is that the very injuries that should have destroyed Indiana may have forged something stronger. Without Clark, Boston has emerged as a vocal leader and emotional compass. Without Cunningham, Colson, or McDonald, role players like Powers, Petty, and Hull have been forced to grow into bigger roles, and they've thrived. Coach Stephanie White simplified the playbook, streamlined rotations, and built a system that leaned into toughness rather than excuses. She didn't sugarcoat the challenges. She embraced them, and in doing so, she gave her players permission to fight with joy, resilience, and unity. The payoff is historic. For the first time since 2016, the Fever are back in the playoffs, and for the first time since 2015, they hold a winning record. In a season that saw 18 different players suit up in a Fever jersey, the result isn't chaos. It's depth. It's a team that can plug anyone into big minutes without losing rhythm. It's a culture that values grit over glamour. And it's a roster that, when Clark returns in 2026, will already have playoff scars and championship DNA. Of course, the road ahead is brutal. Indiana is likely to face Atlanta, Las Vegas, or Phoenix in round 1. In a best-of-3, with 2 of those games on the road, the odds aren't in their favor. But here's the thing. The odds haven't been in their favor all season. And that's exactly why no one should want to see them now. Because they don't just play to survive anymore. They play to prove a point, that belief, toughness, and togetherness can turn heartbreak into dominance. In the locker room after the game, Boston reminded her teammates to enjoy the moment, but also not to lose focus. Yes, they celebrated. Yes, they laughed, but she quickly reminded them, we're not done yet. That balanced joy mixed with business is what makes this team so dangerous. They're not just happy to be here. They're ready to scare the hell out of this league. Think about it. If Indiana can do this with half a roster, what happens when they're whole again? If they can blow out an opponent by nearly 30 without Clark, what happens when her playmaking, shooting, and star power return to a team that's already forged in fire? That's not a question of survival anymore. That's a question of destiny. So as the Fever march into the postseason, they're carrying more than just momentum. They're carrying a culture built on resilience, a belief system anchored by Aliyah Boston, and a locker room mantra that has already redefined their season. It's never doubt yourself and what you're capable of. And after what they just did to Washington, maybe the rest of the WNBA should stop doubting too.